When large jobs require moving massive amounts of snow, get the work done quickly and efficiently with the Western Pile Driver and all-new Pile Driver XL pusher plows, both featuring Trace Edge technology. These pushers scrape down to the pavement with an advanced cutting-edge system that has independent 2-foot sections that move vertically, oscillate, and trip. Get more jobs done faster with the Western Pile Driver lineup of pusher plows.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. You know there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott. I have with me this morning special guest, Chrystal Rose, coach and consultant. Chrystal is a mind and behavior transformation coach for smart entrepreneurs who want to accomplish hard things effortlessly. As a serial entrepreneur and multi-passionate human, Chrystal can't be put in a box, so her coaching doesn't go in one either. Her unique approach is like HDTV for your life, tearing down your old beliefs, behaviors, and blocks, and building a new automatic pattern that gets you where you want to go. Chrystal's proven method and dedication to her craft has helped hundreds of others find the kind of success and fulfillment far beyond what they thought was possible. Man, that is awesome.
Thank you.
I love the HGTV analogy.
I feel like people need to, if you can kind of see it in your mind, then it helps a little bit.
It does, for sure. I think that, and it's true. I think being an entrepreneur is tough. I love how you said, want to accomplish hard things effortlessly.
Yeah.
Business is hard.
Yeah. It's challenging.
It is challenging. It is challenging. It is challenging. You look at, I'm always interested in why businesses fail. I think always looking at what was the reason for failure. What did they do wrong? And I think that if you can, I want to know what those reasons are so that I don't go down that path myself, right? Because you never know what can happen. But what is your secret sauce for coaching and consultancy?
Yeah, so I think every person is different, right? Everyone is different. We've all lived different life experiences. You and I can both experience the exact same event. And because we have had completely different life experiences, we're going to interpret that event completely differently, right? So I like to have as many tools in my toolbox as possible so that I can work with everyone and their unique experience. So my main modality is I use unconscious reprogramming work. And I do that through embodiment. So feelings and sensations in our body, and also in speaking to your unconscious mind.
All right. I love it. How does that work?
Well, so here's the thing, right? Like our conscious mind is essentially what we deal with, right? It's logic, it's reason, it's what we're aware of. And traditional personal development and mindset work works with the conscious mind. So we tell ourselves, the affirmations like I'm successful, or I'm pretty, I'm pretty, whatever it is, right? We're really just kind of bashing against our unconscious beliefs. So if there's no barrier there, then you can say I'm successful, you'll feel successful, and you'll move on and either become or continue to be successful. But if your unconscious mind has a block or there's something there, all that's going to happen in the background is, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, right? You might as well just say, I am a penguin, and your brain is just going to fight you on it. Every time you say it, it's going to reaffirm the opposite of what you're saying out loud. So I have to get in there and find out where where did that voice even come from, right? If we're trying to
Yeah.
change our thoughts at the thought level, we're so concerned about, again, HGTV, right? We're putting a countertop on top of a countertop. Who does that when in a renovation?
Right.
You're not going to go in and be like, oh, I hate the color of this LVP. Let's put a new color on top of what's here. You need to rip that shit out, right? Like you need
Right.
to rip it out before you can put something new down. So, and what I do is I have to find out, where did the root of this belief or those thoughts or whatever is holding you back, where did that come from? And what does it need in order to clear it so that you can install something new and supportive to get to where you want to go?
It sounds to me like you're getting into the scar tissue.
Yeah.
Like what broke us? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. Like
was it just being an entrepreneur to begin with?
Not usually.
It has something more dramatic. But I mean, getting to those things, I think that's pretty cool. So that's a different approach. And I love the analogy. We wouldn't put a countertop on top of a countertop. So
Right.
we hear a lot about mindset. We hear a lot of people say, just tell yourself I love you yourself 10 times in the mirror and you're going to love yourself in 2 weeks. And
if only that worked. Like 20 years ago, I would have been just totally different person.
Totally different person. And what you're saying is you got to get in there and figure out what's going on. And do you find that these are things that happen in childhood? They happen in college? Do they what are some of these damages that you're uncovering that are helping people get to the next level?
Yeah, oftentimes they are things that happen in childhood, and a trauma or a wound or a rupture doesn't necessarily have to be something huge or what the average person would even consider to be trauma, right? I've worked with people that are like, I don't understand. I had a really great childhood, like everything was fine, so I don't know why I'm like this, right? And people with big trauma, they know. Like they're just like, we know why.
Right.
I'm this way, right?
Right.
And some people are very self-aware, but that self-awareness doesn't actually help them stop what's holding them back. So yes, generally there's going to be something from when they're younger, because we tend to shape all of that before age 7, because we take everything almost like literally. Our unconscious just takes it all in literally, the things that are happening around us. And that's also when we shift our behavior to get our needs met. So I use the example oftentimes of like a toddler whose mom is just like, maybe she's burned out, maybe she's heard her name 1,000 times and is just like, ugh, and just doesn't respond, right? Well, if that child wants attention, what do you think he's going to do? They're throw himself on the ground and just lose it, right?
Yep.
He's going to get that need met. Yeah, going to get that need met. And then mom's like, oh, okay, well, and then after a while, there's no more just, hey, mom. It's just straight to the losing it. And that's what we do. Our brain kind of files away, like it's making the effort, trying to get this need met. And then once we find that new way, the brain kind of files it. We don't need it anymore. And then we have this default behavior similar to walking, right? Like at one point you're really bad at walking. You had to learn how to do it. If I told you to unlearn how to walk, you'd look at me like I was insane. But that's what a lot of these default behaviors are. They've just become what you do to get your need met or to feel safe. And then we play them out in adulthood a lot of the times in our business, or our business is a manifestation of one of these behaviors. And it's not exactly the thing that we created in the first place, but it's similar.
Okay. I love it. That's all good stuff. The toddler throwing themselves on the floor is really hardcore. Because I have a 1.5-year-old and he likes to do that from time to time. The worst is when they do it in the grocery store.
Oh yeah.
Stop crying. Everybody's looking at me. This is a terrible moment. So that's another good analogy. So the unconscious mind, we're trying to program it. We're trying to get moving forward. We're trying to get successful. We're not solving the problems that are really there. We're just kind of putting Band-Aids on them, or we're putting things on top of them. Why don't you think that traditional personal development and mindset work is the best path for self-improvement for entrepreneurs?
So again, oftentimes we're fighting with that conscious mind, right? Like we're babysitting our thoughts all day to try to change the thing. And also like traditional personal development focuses on the behavior, right? So if you are a quote unquote perfectionist, or you have issues with being a control freak, or maybe you have a little bit of achievement addiction, right? Like anything you're kind of playing out, behaviors that you think are hindering you. Traditional personal development says things like perfectionism, good done is better than perfect, right?
Right.
Like tries to just get you to feel okay. But again, we're babysitting our thoughts. We're kind of like having this tug of war. I don't focus necessarily on the behavior. I find the root of the behavior because it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's a manifestation. It's a coping mechanism. And so when we get to the root and we figure out what it needs and we give it what it needs and we heal that, right? That behavior unravels itself. It's not a thing anymore. It's no longer the default. But so much focus in personal development is on that thing, the behavior, the coping mechanism, essentially.
I love it. So one of the things that I've heard people talk about is that entrepreneurs can become emotionally bankrupt, meaning they can really get thick skin. Like, oh my goodness, over my career, I've let 200 people go and it just doesn't matter to me. I've got to move on and keep the mission. Or gosh, I'm struggling with finances and I got to get those things going. Or all clients are jerks, where they really become kind of thick-skinned and emotionally bankrupt. And then they take that home and then they try to be dad or husband or mom or wife or whatever it might be. And then they have a hard time connecting with their spouse, connecting with their kids. Things don't work the way that they want them to. You see that a lot in entrepreneurs, right? Giving up what they have to go get what they want, right? And so how does this coaching, this consultancy, how would you help somebody in that situation? How do you help walk them through kind of the emotional bankruptcy that a lot of entrepreneurs kind of sit in?
So much to unpack. Yes. So good. So I wouldn't necessarily even refer to it as emotional bankruptcy, right? I think to protect ourselves, right? A coping mechanism, we might cut off unconsciously, we cut off access to our emotions, right?
Okay.
So we're like, I don't want to feel this. This doesn't feel good anymore. We're done here. And we kind of put up a wall, boom, right? It's protective because we haven't learned how to, I don't want to say like not be triggered, but to really become unbotherable, right? So I consider myself unbotherable, not being like genuinely, right? Like people can say whatever they want to me. I can have, clients quit, whatever. I don't take that personally because I know it's not about me. I know it's about them. And so if someone were to say something to me that maybe I fear is true or is a wound of mine and they're kind of poking it, I actually get excited. I'm like, oh, that's something I get to work on. Cool, right? Because I know that there's a root there. I know there's something deep down to work on. So I'm not cut off, right? If my feelings are hurt, I cry. If my husband and I have to have a heart to heart, we do that. And like I'm in it, right? I'm emotionally in it. I love my clients. I love what I do. I have a full access to my whole range of emotions. I don't cut myself off, but I do energetically protect. I don't take on people's stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I teach my clients essentially to do that. First, again, we got to get to the root of what's going on, because if you're like, I don't want to feel feelings, right? Like it sucks to feel feelings, or I feel like I'm just getting beaten over and over again. We're going to regain access to those feelings, but we're also going to get to the root of what pokes you and activates you and gets you in your feelings. Because oftentimes there's a emotional response to things, because everything we do in our lives is going to play out something that happened either in childhood or younger in life, right? Like our response to things.
Yeah.
So I help them regulate their nervous system, and I help them heal those little wounds that may cause them to feel upset or triggered or activated. So then they can really approach like the actual situation and be like, oh, this is them. Like that person's being a jerk to me, but like that is very much on them. And I'm able to approach this in a way where I'm not emotionally activated, and there's no need to just put up a wall.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a great solution. So to take it kind of one step further, I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to a guy yesterday, and he's got a design and build landscape business down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go in and they build these beautiful patios and fireplaces and outdoor living spaces, the Joanna Gaines type stuff, I would imagine, something like that. And he said, this year has been real hard to sell jobs. He said, real hard to sell jobs. He said, our numbers are way down. And he said, I'm going to have to lay off 3 crews.
Mm.
And so each one of these crews has 4 guys on it. So he's got to lay off 12 of his team members. And he's just really broken up about it. And I think, as you talk to people in service-based businesses, it's somewhat of a recession for them, I think, at the moment. And people aren't spending money like they were during COVID or pre-COVID. And when somebody is set with that challenge of, laying off several crews, or they're going through that is really an emotionally challenging thing to go through. If an entrepreneur on the call is going through that or facing something similar, one, how do you coach them to get through the moment? Mm-hmm. But then how do you coach them to be okay afterwards?
Yeah. So there's kind of 2 different answers to this, right? Because if this is my very first call with someone, and let's say that we aren't working together, right? And they're like, all of this stuff is going on, I'm not sure I would even take them on as a client, because they're so already emotionally dysregulated that it would be like they'd be freaking out about what they're going through and what they're having to tackle. And so there's that giant mountain to climb, essentially. Whereas if this is someone I've been working with for a while, we've developed a base. So when things like that happen, they are like, this is so weird. I feel like I'm standing in the center of the storm, but I am so chill. I'd be freaking out right now if this was last year or this was whatever, right?
Yeah.
So when they come to me, it's like, there might be a few issues that they want to work on or they want to tweak, but they're not like in crisis. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we are able to really do a lot of work and build that foundation. So when things go on that they'd normally just be like losing their minds over, or maybe they, experience an income dip, or they need to shift things around in their business, they're able to really face it with so much solidness. Like they're so solid and they're so grounded, and they're able to just do it and not freak out. There's no activation or very small amounts of activation. Whereas if they're coming to me freaking out, I'm like, okay, anything I say to you right now is going to feel like, well, you don't understand, blah, 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 right? Like they're so in it, in the story and in the drama of the whole thing. That it's really difficult. Now I can work to clear some things and get into their unconscious, and help them feel a little bit better. And that's what I would work on if they were new. So it's it's not my favorite.
Right.
Right. It's not my favorite, because I'd rather be proactive in case, because as entrepreneurs, things will and always go wrong and challenge us. But it's meeting and facing those challenges with just that steadiness and solidity, as opposed to I'm freaking out and I'm desperate and I'm willing to do all the things, because they're really looking for an answer. And really sometimes anything you do or say to help someone when they're flailing around may not land.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I love what you said there. Basically what I heard you say is, hey Dave, not all business is good business. And this is one of those things that I think all entrepreneurs deal with.
Right.
Sometimes it's not about chasing a paycheck. Sometimes it's about knowing what client you can serve best and how you best take care of them. Like in my business, I don't want to work for every client in the world. Right. I want to work for the clients that values align. They're going to pay me on time. They're going to be nice to my people on the phone. They're going to treat us the right way.
Totally.
Not all business is good business, because bad business has a big cost.
Yeah. And it's I really want to be able to help someone, right? And I know that being as proactive as humanly possible is what's going to get them through those storms. But if you're in the storm, like I know in the past, like I was just not able, to hear things. But like you said, not all business is good business. And there are people that I can just feel it in my body when I talk to them. And I'm like, no, like, no.
This is bad. This is all bad.
This is not going to work for me. And there are people that I'm like, oh man, I would love to get my hands on you because I know I can help you, but I don't think you're in the place to receive it. Or, like I feel like it would be that tug of war. I need us to link arms when we're doing this together, as I can't pull people along anymore. And I used to be really willing to do that. And I'm not anymore. I can't.
I think I call them grinders. It's identifying grinders, customers who are going to grind on you at such a high level that they make you hate your job. They make your team hate their job.
Yeah.
You don't like to talk to them. They email you rude things. They're rude when they get you on the phone. So I think grinders are, for any entrepreneur out there, is you want to stay away from the grinder. And it's true, like you said, when you meet them, you just know in your soul that they are bad.
Yeah.
You can just tell, oh my God, this person is going to be a nightmare. And, if you really need the work, then you add what I call as a grinder fee. And that might be, that might be 2 or 3 times the cost of the job. Because you know what you're going to have to put up with, right?
Yeah.
Like you just know this is going to be a nightmare. And then, some people are so sweet and so nice. And you just, like you said, you want to get your hands on them. You want to help them. You know what you can do. So I love that. How did you go about identifying that in your business? Did that take some time? Was that through bad experiences?
Yeah.
What got you there?
It came from having that little tug in my body being like, this is a no, like, but then but I want to help her, right? I want to help them. And when every single time I've overridden that no or the yes, I am shown why it was originally a no, like later on, like this is why. And I teach this, right? I teach really listening to your gut and to yourself. And it's that ego, man, that just comes up and it's like, but I can help them. But I really have just learned to really listen to my gut. My gut is the CEO of my body and of my experience. My brain is the COO. It's just getting the stuff done. Like my gut's the visionary. My gut's the visionary and my head is like the executor. And every time my head tries to like be in charge and be the visionary, things go wrong. That's not what it's for.
That's awesome. I'm taking a note on that. So the gut is the CEO, the brain is the COO. I love that. That's a great tagline for the show. I mean, I think that's fantastic. So I've got this thing that I do because we're just on the podcast wrapping here, so I might as well get some free therapy. But
sure.
No, I'm just kidding. So when I have a serious problem, something that I'm trying to figure out, whether it's personal or whether it's business or whatever it might be, family. So, you can sit there and drive yourself crazy thinking about something.
Yes.
So one of the things I like to do is I actually believe in this subconscious mind program, and I like to stop thinking about it. And then I like to tell my subconscious mind, like I have a conversation with myself. I don't feel weird telling you this because you are all about the subconscious.
It's amazing.
But I wouldn't tell this to somebody else. So even though there's going to be a whole bunch of people watch this show, so I'm totally exposed myself. But I tell my subconscious mind, I actually did this before I got on the freeway yesterday. Subconscious mind, this is a problem I'm having. I need you to work on it and figure out a solution. And then I let it go.
Yes.
And you know what happens?
You find the answer comes to you.
It just comes to you. Randomly, you come up with this incredible solution. It might be a day later. It might be 2 days later. It might be an hour later. But the amazing thing is that your mind, your brain, is working on trying to solve this problem.
Yes. Yeah.
For you. You're just not getting in the way of it.
Absolutely. I 1000% co-sign that. So,
All right, there we go.
because I think so often, especially when you're in like the emotions of something or you're pros and conning and all of that, like we can work our brain into this whole pretzel trying to figure out what's best. I can usually tell if a client presents me with two options, I know exactly which is the right one, not based on what I would do or not what I think is right, but based on the way that they say it, the energy in which they say it. I'm very, very attuned to that. And so I can usually be like, oh,
Yeah,
but
that's
help them,
awesome.
help guide them into that decision, because there's usually like a barrier or fear or something that's keeping them from doing the thing they actually really want to do. But again, like, yeah, just taking some space, because when we are in our mind, in our conscious mind, and we're kind of swirling around in there, we're like, oh, there's two options. There's this or this, there's this or this. And so many more options become available when we just kind of like drop into our body, and become more connected to ourselves. There's just so many more options. And so just releasing it, letting it go, and being like you said, you ask. Some people, if you're spiritual, asking God, asking the universe, asking, angels, guides, whatever, asking your unconscious mind, all of those things get to work. I know there's an answer. Like, I'm going to give this up. I'm going to surrender it, and just let me know when you got it. I've done that. I do that all the time. And usually
I
it's
do that all
something,
the time too.
yeah, usually it's something that I never would have thought of had I been like pushing and trying to force it.
Yeah,
So I
I
love that
love
you do
that.
that.
Don't force it. Okay, so we've got this question here. And you had said, excuse me, you had said helping entrepreneurs who want to accomplish hard things effortlessly.
Yeah,
Do you really believe that entrepreneurship doesn't have to be hard?
I do. I do. And so many people are mad at me right now, especially like industry dinosaurs that are really stuck in there. Like, life is hard, marriage is hard, business is hard, everything is hard. It's like we wear hard like this like badge of honor, as though like someone's gonna hand us a trophy at the end of the road and be like, good job with all that hard stuff,
Yeah.
it's we're not going to escape challenges, because challenges help us grow. They help us become the person we want to become, right? When we're like, I see myself with bazillion dollars, right? Like we're not that person today. We have to become that person. How do we become that person? It's through the process, right? If you woke up tomorrow and had everything you had ever dreamed of, at any goal you had ever accomplished, you wouldn't likely be able to replicate it, because you hadn't gotten there, right? If you lose your goal weight overnight, you didn't do the things to get yourself there. You don't know how to sustain it. So a lot of that happens like in entrepreneurship. You have to overcome challenges. You have to make mistakes. You have to learn in the process on the way to who you are becoming, who you want to become, who has the things that you want to have. So challenges are going to occur. However, they don't have to feel hard. They don't have to feel hard at all. Because if you are able to, again, get to the root of these things, heal like those, regulate your nervous system, heal those wounds and ruptures. When hard shit happens, the things that you would normally be like, this is so hard, you would recognize it as a challenge for sure, but your system wouldn't feel activated. Your emotions wouldn't be going like up and down or stay down.
Yeah.
You'd be able to meet it with just like this like steadiness. So this is my fourth business, right? Having this coaching business. Okay. And I am the type of person where if I just don't love it anymore, like if it's not in alignment for me, like I will burn it to the ground and move on. I don't care if it's successful. I don't care if it's making me tons and tons of money. If I'm done and it's not for me anymore, I'm done. I'm over it. Right. I'm go.
That's a beautiful way to live.
Yeah. So, and I always follow what lights me up and what I love. And in this business, when I started it, I promised myself that I would do it in the light, easy way, that I would experience, like I would overcome challenges, but it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be like in the old, in my last businesses, right? Everything was hard. Probably within 2 years of the other businesses, I'd wanted to quit. I just didn't want to do it anymore. It was so hard. I always felt so defeated. I was never really celebrating my wins. It just felt like I was inching uphill all the time. And it was just so painful. And I worked on myself like first.
Yeah.
That is the only reason why I even started this coaching business, because it changed my life at the most insane level. I was just breezing through my last business. Everything felt easy. Suddenly my sales were tripling and I'm like, what has even happened? I'm not working harder. Like I'm not stressed. Like who am I right now? Like we have these moments, my clients will have these moments like, who even am I right now? Because we just don't recognize how we're responding to something. It's insanely different. And so I had to start this coaching business. I had to teach this to other people because I'm like, it's so valuable, especially in entrepreneurship, because these are the people who are changing the freaking world. These are the people who have ripple effects into the lives of so many others, whether it be not just your family, it's your team, right? Your staff, their families, your clients, your customers. It ripples and ripples and ripples. So the better you are and the better you feel, the more you can spread that energy to everyone else in the world. I love it. This is my drug. Like,
It's very inspirational.
Yeah, it's addicting. So I don't think it has to be hard. I don't think it has to feel hard. I know it doesn't because this is my 4th year in this business. You're going to have to pry it out of my cold dead hands. Like I love it. And every challenge, and I meet a lot of challenges. Okay. Like, and I make big moves and take big risks that are terrifying, but I don't feel any of that. I just am very focused and very steady.
Yeah. That's impressive. I think what you shared about, oh my goodness, I just feel like I'm inching forward. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way.
Oh yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs feel like just the next day. How do I get through the next day? Just the next day. Oh my gosh, another day of problems, another day of fighting. So many entrepreneurs, I think, live that life.
Mm-hmm.
What's one small step that any entrepreneur listening to the show can take to help them feel better?
So I'm a big fan of breath work, but I have this little thing called this 3-day shift, right? And it's basically I'm like, you're going to improve your mood in 5 minutes or less, right? It's just such a tiny little thing. Embodiment exercises. And so one thing is our breath, which is free, right? Like it doesn't cost anything to use it. I have a breathwork podcast called Breathwork Bestie. So if you struggle with meditation, which most of us do because our brains are going 1,000 miles a minute and we shame ourselves for thinking we think we shouldn't be thinking, breathwork unlocks that. But if you just set an alarm 3 times a day, right? And when it goes off, you just take 3 big breaths. At the end of that 3rd breath, your whole system is just like, it's going to settle. And another thing I like, which like Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, right? State change is you throw on a song that gets you pumped up and you just move your body, just dance. It doesn't have to look cute, but if you just jump around and dance around for 45 seconds, boom, state change. Like you're going to feel different. So those are just like tiny little embodiment hacks that I like to give people because it shows you at just like the tiniest little microscopic level how powerful it is when you are getting into your body. And when we actually are going in there and working with things, I mean, it amplifies like times a million.
Okay. That's absolutely awesome. If anybody's looking for coaching services, how can they get a hold of you?
They can go to crystalrose.com, click on my services tab, scroll to the bottom. There's my one-on-one stuff. I've got courses. I have a membership, like literally from $7 to like, I don't know. I think my one-on-one is like $3,500 a month right now. Like I'm very transparent on my pricing because like I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste mine, right?
Totally.
So like I said, from $7 that 3-day shift to like a smaller little membership thing to courses and things like that. There's so many ways to work with me because again, my goal is to be as accessible as possible to a range of people because while I love working with, I have 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs that I work with at that one-on-one level. There are entrepreneurs and even just high level executives, right, that need this work and can receive so much benefit from my other offers. So I have a wide range. If you click on that
all right, crystalrose.com.
CHRYSTAL. Yes.
Boom. There we go. And we'll throw that into the show notes so that anybody can access it. And you've got the podcast, which is
Breathwork Bestie. Yeah.
Breathwork Bestie. That's awesome.
Yep.
So check that out. I'm going to check that out. When does that go live? Where is that playing?
Breathwork Bestie is on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on all the major podcast platforms. We put out, I think we're at 3 sessions a month right now. We have over 100. They're all meditations. So they're all just like breathwork meditations ranging from like 5 minutes to like, I think 30. So depending on the time you have, and it's all free. There are plenty of people who charge quite a bit for this or for apps and whatnot, but this is my gift to the world.
Well, that's a beautiful gift. Listen, This has been an awesome show. You've been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
The world can take a lot away from what you have to offer. How can the audience get a hold of you socially? Are you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram? Where are you hanging out?
Yep, I'm on Facebook, which I think just Chrystal Rose is the tag there, and that's my personal account on Instagram. And then my business account with more of the coachy stuff is at The Embodied Baddie. On Instagram. Yeah.
You heard it there. That's where you can get a hold of Chrystal Rose. I'm your host, Dave Westcott. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, anywhere where it's social. I'm hanging out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday. We are here live running the Entrepreneurial Journey. This has been a fabulous show. I'm going to check out my breathing. I've got a whole page of notes just from our conversation today. So it's been fabulous. Chrystal, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's so fun.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You too.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. You know there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Introducing the all-new Western Enforcer V-Plow. Engineered with all the features, efficiency, and performance of full-size Western V-Plows, built specifically for your half-ton truck. For more information, visit westernplows.com.